Hello, everyone. Good morning, and hope you are fine and taking all those precautions to protect yourself, especially your health. Although it is very difficult to maintain a good state of mind due to the present crisis, especially those civil service aspirants who have been facing a state of uncertainty due to COVID crisis, as the prelims and interview they have been postponed, and UPSC came out in the first week of June, a clear schedule, and that somehow cleared the cloud about the upcoming examination. Similarly, the new upcoming candidates, those who want to appear in 2021 or 2022, they have been also facing a set of uncertainty due to the present state of uncertainty regarding 2020 calendar of examinations by UPSC. And the institutes are also almost closed, and they are running somehow online, and they are also trying to adapt to the new situation. In that condition, we also have been trying to face those challenges and try to adapt to online, completely online mode. And because of that, we have cancelled ED class at least three times. The original schedule for ED class was 14th of June, but due to this uncertainty and somehow we are not prepared to take classes the way we used to take in offline mode by going to our office. Although our office is open, but it is running somehow as only limited number of staff are allowed to come, and some staff have also gone home just because to take care their health and other such aspects. In this regard, although we regret that multiple times we have cancelled ED classes and we are not running it as properly as it used to be in past. We are also not used to this new mode of teaching, as it is very difficult to create a real classroom like environment and teach. This is the first time perhaps that I am basically teaching or trying to teach without students, and it is very difficult to be natural and get a natural flow of teaching, because for a teacher, the stage, the classroom is a very natural place where he finds himself very comfortable in teaching. But here, uh, I'm trying to teach you, or going to teach you, tell you about ED class and many other aspects. This is my first appearance in last 3 months since lockdown was imposed. I have not been able to take any class, although we are running some other classes like GS Foundation, and we are also going to begin our optional foundation classes from 15th of July. But this is my first experience to teach online without having students in the class, and let's see that how I become very effective, or whether I'm effective in this online mode as well, in conveying my message and explaining the things related to ED class. One important aspect that why we have been postponing ED class is that it is a very thorough teaching. It is not teaching about current affairs. Rather, we try to focus on giving a thorough understanding of any such important current development that can be considered as a potential topic for especially mains and maybe in prelims, but main focus is on men's, and that's why we try to decide some those topics which we find relevant, which can have certain analytical component, and which demand to formulate or form some views and perspective, and that demands somehow to have students in the class, or at least the students those who want to join, or those who are new to ED class, they may not understand our approach, that why we teach so comprehensively. They may have their own understanding that current developments, and ED class is about current developments, and then they are going to teach about those current developments, all the basics and the developments. But at times they can find very surprising that we generally do not teach those basics and just information oriented teaching. It is more about enhancing your understanding and giving a comprehensive view and building an insight and perspective, which we considered very important for all the three stages of examination. We cannot separate prelims, mains, and interview, and you cannot have a compartmentalized preparation. And because of that, you should not take that this is only focused to mains. Rather, even in prelims, you should know that some questions will always be asked on the basis of understanding, which we'll show through some examples today. And today, our purpose of the teaching is about telling you about current developments and telling that how ED class will focus on those current developments, and also telling you that how you can utilize ED class to the maximum level, so that you can benefit the most. It is better to understand, it is important to understand, rather it is important to understand first that what is the approach of ED class, so that you should not miss that aspect while reading ED material and attending the ED classes. Like you should know that this the topics will be prepared very comprehensively, and we try to analyze, and in the end we try to give the view on that, as the most important aspect about any such development is your view, what view you carry regarding any such topic. Like, question can be asked, or a simple question can be asked to you, that how government has tackled the COVID challenges. Now, the students can have very positive perspective. Some can have a very negative perspective. Some will deliberately try to balance it by giving both positive and negative, or they will try to show what good things government has done and where the government is lacking. And still, they are critical to the government weaknesses. At the same time, they have a positive perspective. They will show some kind of optimism in their view, and they will also cite some points that what government can do. Therefore, this balanced view is considered a good perspective, a positive perspective, also a neutral perspective. A person who writes a balanced view is neither supporter of the government nor anti to government. Rather, he supports anything that is good, he is against anything that is bad, and at the same time, he has also a set of points to say what should be the way out. And that is what the approach we want to convey and tell you that this is what you should have a perspective. There are many things to share and tell, which we'll do while taking our classes. But let me tell one just a small example that recently on Telegram channel we gave one question related to online education, that whether online education is good and whether offline education is a thing of past, whether online education can take the place of offline education. And one answer I saw on the Telegram, which was posted by one candidate, it was just uh, written on the basis of one view. The candidate supported that online education cannot take the place of offline. Yes, it is right, but it is just a single dimension answer. This is what we say. So you should try to bring different perspective. Like when it is asked whether online education can take place of offline, so certainly there cannot be completely yes, there cannot be completely no. It is somewhere that online education will certainly have its move, and it will increase by many fold, like the way we are doing this online. So online education will increase, and it has tremendous scope. This is how nowadays every school, college, institution, so they are trying to give online education. But certainly, offline education cannot be replaced completely by online education, because offline education has its own significance, and especially for schooling stage, children go to school not just to get knowledge, and we know that it's about socialization, it's about recreation. And therefore, the candidate who wrote that answer should have also brought the positives of offline. Then at the same time, you have to categorize that at higher level of education, let's say research, let's say that at other level, so there can be a greater aspect of online education. Like there are some research which show that over 70%, 60%, they can be conversion of online education. So you have to categorize in your answer about that key offline, online. Then you have to give a view that how the both will have to have a side by side aspect, and online can be taken more as Certainly, in some cases, it will replace offline, but in some cases, it will have complement, and in some cases, offline will have an edge over online. That is called perspective. That is called a comprehensive view. And that is called, let's say, that understanding of the topic. And this is what we will try to convey by teaching our ED class, and in which that generally we take 7 to 8 topics. In past, in offline mode, it used to be. Let's see in online mode how many topics we can cover in one class, or we should have multiple classes. Like so, this is what the message we will try to say about ED class. And today we have prepared uh, about ED class, the basics of ED class, PPT, and through that we will try to tell you, share you that what exactly this ED class will consist of, and how we'll proceed, and how you should approach your current developments. In brief, it is very important to tell you that current developments play very important role. You cannot separate civil service preparation from current developments, and how to get a good perspective, how to get a good understanding, how to get a good view. They are going to be the most challenging, and this is what we will try to tell today. And we hope that you also adopt gradually to this new mode of preparation. Although we are not very habituated to this mode of preparation. In fact, this mode of teaching rather, and because the naturalness somehow will suffer, as we have to tell you about this. And this is short note prepared about ED class. On the basis of that, we'll try to tell you, and that how and what you should focus about ED class or current developments. And this has been done to tell you or convey clearly about the motive or the objective, that how you should approach your current developments. Let's see first about ED class. Like we have written that it is not a class for teaching current affairs. Rather, it is a class to give you perspective. Although I am certainly not habituated to teach you by seeing any note, rather we have all learned it, and quite 7 8 years back, I left this habit of teaching by seeing any note. But today, due to this digital platform, somehow we are trying to relearn what we have unlearned quite back. That what basically we are going to teach, and this makes our teaching a very structured teaching. Many a time structured teaching is good, but yes, the naturalness of teaching is also robbed of this method, or robbed by this method. Like we are trying to say that we don't teach current affairs, rather we try to give you perspective. Certainly, you should know that in the class, the motive or the objective is not to give you information about any development. Like suppose any incident has happened, any policy announcement has happened, and any such issue has come. So our main purpose is not to give you information, a set of information, a set of features, a set of points that what are those developments. Rather, it is more about analysis, analyzing that development, and talking on those different dimensions of that development, and telling you that how should be what should be a view on that which can be considered as a balanced one, and hence it is called perspective. Perspective matters, you should know. Perspective can be considered a type of idea that you carry. When anyone asks any question to you on any such topic, let's say that is simple that how government has fought COVID challenges and the things that you tell, so they are on the basis of your understanding, your information, your fact that you have, your knowledge that you have. And you know that different people have different types of perspective on the same question, and hence this is how people differ. And they differ in terms of their understanding, they differ in terms of their insight, they differ in terms of their comprehensiveness of the view, balanced view. And this is what, let's say, that perspective consists of. And that's why, let's say, that we emphasize in our ED class that how we can enhance your understanding and give an insight about any topic, a comprehensive view, developing a balanced perspective, and enriching your knowledge for all the three stages. And that is how, let's say, that it is editorial discussion class. But you should know that editorial discussion class, ED, why we have named it ED class. ED class, some people can take it as that it seems it is this discussion of editorials written in the newspaper every day. And some people may not understand at all what ED means for. And some people can think that even, let's say, there are classes for editorial discussion. It means the civil service aspirants even cannot understand editorials written in the newspaper. That is how a remark by one student in past, as he did not know that what ED was meant for. And therefore, ED is not merely about analysis of the editorials written in the newspaper. Rather, it is just a name for discussing, analyzing, taking, holding class, let's say, on important development related to current, and comprehensively analyzing it, and framing some questions on them related to prelims and mains, and also asking to the students that how to answer them. And that is how we mean editorial discussion. We named it just for its uniqueness, as there are many current affairs classes in the market, and therefore we wanted to maintain uniqueness. In fact, anyone or any person wants to maintain uniqueness, and that is how we have also tried to maintain uniqueness, and that is how we say it as editorial discussion. Now, as we have told the focus, or you can see the focus that we have of five important aspects, then we have asked one question that what exactly they mean, what is the meaning of these terms, and why they are relevant. Meaning, you should know that knowledge, let's say that given a child has, but he does not have understanding. And we have a popular saying that a child cannot behave like a father. Means the child will have to experience, and that is how understanding. So knowledge you can have by merely reading some information, but certainly, let's say that understanding comes with experience. Means you have to experience many such aspects. For instance, let's say that today, suppose you have started preparing for civil service, You may not have many such knowledge in different areas, and therefore your limited knowledge will give you limited understanding about different situations. Like, you may not have knowledge about how the government works, that is called system of governance. And since you do not have, so your understanding will also be very limited. And hence, you when you give any view on any such topic or development, so you will give a very narrow view. You may not give a very broad view. And this is how gradually when you develop your knowledge, so you start getting insight about different aspects, let's say system of governance, and that insight enhance your understanding, and that is called comprehensive, a broad view that you can think from social, political, economic, legal, many different perspectives. Like, let's say that COVID, that we'll talk later on, that COVID-19. So how many dimensions you can see it, this crisis? So how many dimensions you can see this crisis? That is called comprehensiveness. And even let's say that when you see, so are you biased towards any one dimension? Let's say generally a candidate is biased towards the optional the candidate has. Like, if a person has anthropology, so if you talk on COVID, so he can give certain anthropological, or a person has sociology, a person has public administration, or a person has economy. That is how you can say that there should be biasness or leaning of that view, and that is how we will not see it or say it as a balanced perspective. And this is how we mean by, let's say, these terms. And then that enriching knowledge means that this ED class is nothing but a set of all those, information, facts, data, example, views, which will enhance your level of preparedness, and they can come to your help at all the three stages. That is how we can tell about these points. And now let's proceed further. That the following discussion will further tell you about what exactly they mean. And at this stage, since you may be new, or yes, there are some people who have already subscribed ED and they are the past students. There are people who have already given some years to the civil service preparation, and therefore they are aware about the approach of ED class, or they are aware about the current developments. They are aware about many other aspects, but there can be many other students who have just started their preparation, and they have started knowing about UPSC and civil services and its various aspects, and therefore that we have prepared some basics to tell that what exactly current affairs or current developments are, and how you should approach those current affairs, as it is about current affairs and current developments. Therefore, first you should know that what are those current affairs, and what are the sources of those current affairs, and then which source you should follow, and why you should follow those sources. And then when you follow certain sources, what exactly you should try to read or try to study, try to get out of that current development. So these are set of the things which we'll try to discuss uh, today or further discussion. And it is very basic to tell you that the current affairs, they will consist of all those local, national, international uh, developments, all the government activities related to whatever the decisions taken by the government. Then all other segments in the society, broadly, let's say business, civil society, any other such technological developments. Simply in one word, we can say that all the current developments can be considered as current affairs. And certainly, you have to know that which types of current developments you should know, and which types of current developments you should ignore. It is also very important. Knowing what not to study means knowing 50% of the preparation. So that also you have to know. For instance, let's say that in UPSC examination, local level of news and state level of news are not very important, except few. For instance, local level of news can be related to Panchayati Raj institutions, so that can be important. Or if state has taken any such an important initiative, it has become a successful model, so then it becomes important. Otherwise, largely in UPSC examination, you have to focus on the government of India, all policy decisions, initiatives, problems, challenges, and future policies. That is how you should know what you should study and what you should not study. And that's why let's say that current developments can be further classified in terms of national, international affairs, economic, political, social, technological, ecological, and environmental developments. And further, it can be also classified depending on how you see the current developments and which types of competitive examination we are preparing for. But in our civil services, generally we classify the current developments in these terms, and current developments can also be classified in terms of GS papers, essay, and your optional. That way also you can classify. For instance, let's say GS paper 1 and 2, 3, 4. And similarly, if you have the optional, so regarding that, so this is how we can classify, because the GS syllabus itself includes all those different categories of current developments. For instance, in paper second we have international relations, and in paper three we have economic development, technological aspect, environment, ecology, security, disaster management. So they themselves give you an understanding about the classification of current developments, or which types of current developments you should focus. And that is how we mean by let's classification. Then let's see that these all current developments, so what are those sources that one should follow, or one let's say generally follows. So largely we try to know the current developments through newspapers. And you should know that there are different newspapers you may be reading offline, online. So newspapers, and it can be regional, it can be national, it can be English, it can be Hindi. But let's in UPSC preparation we find that the most important newspaper is considered the Hindu, followed by the Indian Express and Times of India. These are the traditional sources. Then the government sources also we have, like PIB, its website, then the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha channels. Government comes with various types of reports, quarterly, half yearly, annually. It has its own machineries like even Niti Aayog, and they give lots of reports, and those things also become basis sources. And then you watch many different types of TV channels, online platforms, and nowadays also let's say print online media that you have. Then coaching institutions also give you current affairs materials, and let's say that the market is almost flooded with so many current affairs booklets, materials, and this is how let's say today aspirants are flooded with too many sources, and many a time it becomes very challenging that how to select the best sources. Then let's there are also some new other emerging platforms like social media, etc. And these platforms have also been playing nowadays important role, like even Telegram. We have also Telegram channel on which we every day post our WSDP bulletin, daily current affairs, daily Hindu news analysis, And this is how, let's say, these are being considered also emerging platforms through which students are trying to go through current affairs. And this is how, let's say, that sources we can tell, be it offline or online. Then the question comes that which exactly you should follow, how many such sources you should follow, and which sources can be considered better than some other sources, because it is very important to follow good sources but limited ones. If you will not follow good sources and limited ones, you will not be simply able to get hold over current developments, and your mind will be flooded with too many information, fact, data, etc., that you will not be able to also retain them, relate them, and establish a good view on any such development. Therefore, it becomes very important to reduce your workload and follow very limited set of sources for current developments. And we have, according to our understanding, prepared some of the, let's say, important sources that you should follow. And the first is called the Hindu. The Hindu can have no substitute. This is how we say. It is the best and the most important source for current development. And one should be very regular to the Hindu. Then, let's say, there are some other government sources. They are considered important simply because if you know the government information, then there is a legitimacy of information, and that is how UPSC examination is based on. UPSC examination largely focuses on those categories of information, fact, etc., which are related to the government. And therefore, the government views perspective, government best information become very important. And that's why PIB, Rajya Sabha channel, government reports, its website, Niti Aayog, and some internationally recognized institutions, they report. So those things become very important. And that is how you should follow. Then the second important aspect is that you should follow any coaching institute current affairs notes. Why you should follow any coaching institute current affairs note? It is simply because that they will try to make it exam oriented. When you read any other such sources, they may not necessarily write as per the UPSC demands, but when you read any such notes from any such institution for civil services, so basically they will try to orient the topic, orient the content as per the demands of the examination. And hence it also becomes important to follow any one which you think is good. Then let's say that these things should be regularly followed to maintain consistency, as it becomes very important. Like if you follow the Hindu regular basis, so any such source has its own way of giving any such article, any such view, etc. For instance, let's say Hindu will have its own pattern of publishing articles, and in a, let's say that means with a period of time you will be able to cover a set of articles. Like for instance, if the Hindu has published today one article and it has not published an important development which happened today, but it has been published by a newspaper, a different newspaper, but that does not mean that the Hindu will not publish it. If you follow the Hindu regularly, maybe that in future it will publish the topic which it was not able to publish today. And that is called regularity and consistency. So once you maintain a regularity and consistency on any such source, so over a period of time, it will cover all those important developments. And at the same time, you will try to relate, you will try to interlink you'll try to develop your own view about the different articles written by different personalities, and even you will get familiar with them, that who writes better article, who writes informative article, who writes philosophical article, and that further, let's say, adds in your understanding. For instance, let's say Rajiv Bhargava, so he writes philosophical articles, and therefore his articles are relevant for paper second as well as paper 4 ethics. MS Swaminathan, so he writes a very informative article and related to agriculture. So similarly, there can be many different personality, and they write, and this is how you try to establish, and this is how a pattern is established, and you follow it, and this pattern also helps you in retention. You can retain the things for a longer duration, and that's why you should read limited sources, but best sources. Now let's come to the next aspect, that okay, what exactly you should try to know once you are done with the sources. What should be the sources? And again, deciding on sources may not be as challenging as knowing that what exactly you have to know, because today the world has so many developments, and it's, you can say that floods of development. We are flooded with information. It's information revolution. Every day, let's say that government announces any such policy, decision, policy, program, anything. You should know that there have been 4,000 rules, regulations announced just in last 3 months to face COVID challenges. We have given this ED topic also. There will be 400 rules and sub rules. So today the world is so much flooded with many such developments, many such issues, many information, many channels. Then the question comes that what exactly you should try to know. That will further sort out what you should know, what you should not know. And in this, basically, uh, as for this, let's say that examination pattern, so this say that exactly what you should know and how much. So basically, this you will try to know, you can understand by knowing the syllabus of UPSC and going through the past year papers. Here we will like to point out one thing, that generally students do not read syllabus of UPSC and past year papers, but they should, before preparation, read syllabus and past year papers multiple times. Syllabus reading gives you an understanding about the different topics in all GS4 papers and prelims. Similarly, about if you take about question papers, let's say prelims, mains, so you will know that what exactly UPSC asks. Let's say if you study last 10 years papers of prelims, if you study last 10 years papers of mains, you will get many such understanding. You will get such means yourself, you will get ideas that what you should approach, what you should follow, what you should not follow, where to focus, where not to focus, and what exactly we should know. And this is how, on the basis of those past experience, syllabus, etc., so we have again classified some of the points related to what exactly you should know. And those things can be considered as the exact sharp knowledge about any developments. Let me tell that, okay, when you are preparing for this examination, you should not have generic information. Generic information is related with general information regarding anything. But this UPSC demands that you should have exact knowledge. You should have sharp knowledge. This is how we say that, and which will explain that what exactly they mean. You should have good facts, data, and examples, and you should know about any topic. That when you want to know any topic, so you should know the background, context, features, characteristics related to that topic, the pros and cons, and what should be the solutions to that topic related development. Then views inside perspective, that the solutions that you give and the way you give pros and cons, the way you analyze, that is how we mean by your views, insight, and perspective. And if government know that in UPSC examination, you have to know most of the decisions of the government, be it present, past, or the future decisions which are in pipeline. If a person is preparing for CAT examination, so for CAT he has to have different types of knowledge. Means he has to have a different type of knowledge, like more business oriented, more about corporate sector, private sector oriented. And certainly he should not be knowing as much about government as a candidate for UPSC. So this is a demarcation line that you have to know about government related all those information, decision, policy, initiatives, and this is how UPSC will ask largely things related to the government. And you're going to serve to the government. Since you're going to serve to the government, therefore this examination preparation is more oriented towards this. Everything is linked to government, be it foreign relation, be it scientific development, be it rural development, be it governance, be it economic development. So anything can be linked to the government, and that is how let's get government related information become very important, and you should know that. Then the question comes, let's say that okay, these all those six categories of information we have classified, like in nutshell, so we have classified into three major categories, like exact knowledge, that is how we say knowledge in principle, which will explain, then fact, data, and example, then understanding and perspective, which you have become now aware of as we have been saying it from the very beginning. And let's say this first, that what exactly we mean by the exact sharp knowledge or in principle knowledge, which we keep emphasizing to the students. And when we ask questions and when they reply, they answer to those questions. So this is how we find out the loopholes in their understanding, that they have read more general sources and they have a general understanding, but questions will be asked, certainly some will be on general understanding, but you have here the significance of sharp knowledge or in principle knowledge. What does it mean? So let's take one question. We ask already these questions we have asked in our institute. Like the government of India has declared the COVID-19 as, so what it has declared as a, so national disaster, health disaster, notified disaster, and social emergency disaster. And you should know that the newspaper may not necessarily have written that COVID-19 was declared as notified disaster. But some newspaper wrote, but not all newspaper. And if you do not have understanding about in principle or exact knowledge, so you will end up attempting this question wrong. And that is how some candidates did when this question was given. But government declared this COVID-19 as notified disaster. You should know that when government takes important decisions, they are published in Gazetteer of India. And once they are published, so that becomes a very certified information, or correct information, or legitimate information. And that is how you have to know. This is how we mean by in principle or exact knowledge. And that is how, let's say that notified disaster is the correct answer. Then let's take a second question that this which under which law this notified disaster has been declared. And again we gave this question, and again we got some candidates trapped by this and they did not answer it correctly. But you should know that the second question is a continuity of first, and again it demands you a very exact or sharp knowledge that notified disaster government declared under only National Disaster Management Act 2005. Here, a confusing thing was related to Epidemic Disease Act, which has also been used. And if you have not been a very sharp reader, let's say that, or if you are not following the standards of UPSC, that you have to get a very correct information about any such development. You may develop a general understanding since both were in news that Epidemic Disease Act is also correct answer, and hence you may have gone to correct take option C rather than option A. This is how we try to explain, and you can understand by taking one two examples related to prelims. Similarly, let's go to the mains perspective. There also you have to develop some uh, sharp understanding or in principle knowledge. And similarly, let's say that we have given two past questions that what do you understand by quasi-judicial bodies? It was once asked by UPSC. We have written 2017, but they can be. We are not very sure, but as we guess, it was asked in 2017. And quasi-judicial body. Now, here we find two types of answers written by the candidates. Quasi judicial bodies are, in generic sense, any institution which has civil court power can be considered as quasi judicial body. But in primary sense, all those institutions having civil court are not necessarily quasi judicial. So when a question has been asked, what you should write? Should you write a generic answer or you should write a specific answer? Similarly, a question was asked, and recently you know that due to Sabrimala this development has come, and therefore the two terms, and they were also expected. In 2019 they were asked, let's say, constitutional and social morality. Now we have also asked this question already before this question was asked by UPSC, and we know that how candidates writes, and that's those candidates. So if they don't have a very clear understanding, means idea what is constitutional morality, what is social morality, they will again write a generic answer. And similarly, let's say that why COVID-19 has been declared as disaster under the Disaster Management Act, but not under the emergency provisions of the Constitution. We have said that it can be asked in 2020. But the question is that do you know why government has invoked this Disaster Management Act and not the emergency provisions of the Constitution? Now, again, you can give a very general view, but you have to know exactly why government has invoked it. And if you will not write it, you are not addressing this question demand in principle. And similarly, let's take that. Okay, what do you understand by the term lockdown and how it is different from the term curfew? It may not be a main question, but just we have framed that how, let's say, there is some sharp understanding needed, and you cannot write a very generic things. Means you cannot write very generic things And that is how, let's say, about in principle knowledge or sharp understanding. Hope you are able to understand. Even if you are not able to understand, you will understand gradually about all these things in future as your understanding improves. Let's take to the those other aspects like facts, data, examples, which you will be aware, and they are very self-explanatory. This is how we find they can be considered as self-explanatory because you are aware of what facts can be, what can be considered as data. Example, facts can be also a set of data. Facts can be also that is some of the established views that you have, conclusive view that you have. Or let's say that UPSC can give some reports, government can give reports, WHO can give reports, and if you talk on the basis of those reports. So that is how we say facts. Facts are important to substantiate your views. Like when you say that India has tackled COVID challenges very effectively. Do you have facts to prove it? If you have facts to prove it, then it can be considered that yes, you have a very objective view. But if you do not have facts to prove, so then the view will be considered very general, and it can be also considered very vague and weak. And therefore, this is how the facts are important. Similarly, data, various types of data, etc. We get, like say 20 million people will fall into poverty line. So this is how it can be a data. It can be GDP growth rate, that can be data. Economic survey can give you many such data. So this is how we have population data, etc. So different types of data we have, which are also important. And similarly, examples are needed for all the papers that you answer, be it your optional paper, be it your GS paper, be it essay paper, and you need to have good examples. Just for giving example to you, we have given, let's say, Bhilwara model or the Dharavi model. Recently, you know that COVID challenges. So Rajasthan, Bhilwara in Rajasthan. So their COVID challenges were tackled very effectively and successfully, and hence it has become a model. And similarly, Dharavi, let's see, you know that the slum area and how it could be challenging to tackle COVID challenges in slum area. And we are able to contain, the Maharashtra government is able to contain the spread of COVID in that slum area. That is also being considered as a model. Hence, let's say that we can take it as example, and that is how we mean by facts, data, and examples. And now let's take that what we want to say about that. What are the understanding based knowledge and insight and perspective? This is how the third category that we are saying, and that is how it is most important. Why it is most important? Because knowledge people may have more or less same, but people differ in terms of their perspective and ideas. You know that in your family itself, many people can have different perspective. They may have same level of education, they may have same level of knowledge, but on different issues, different problems, different developments, their perspective may not be same. Similarly, in this examination, you should know that that matters. A good perspective can fetch you very good marks in mains and in interview, but merely knowledge cannot. And to give that example, some questions are based on those understanding. Like say, another question we framed: which of the following is not correct about the term lockdown? That has been issued by the government of India to fight against the COVID-19. And you should know that you may have heard n number of times lockdown term. Now this is a question which is based on your understanding. Understanding means these all four options you cannot find written in any source necessarily. Rather the four options have been framed, written on the basis of examiner's understanding. Like, it is an informal, not a legal term, hence has not been defined in any laws. It has been declared by presidential order. It is a bit factual. It does not restrict the fundamental rights of the citizen to seek constitutional remedies. Again, you have to bring your understanding to whether it has been or not. It is essential for enforcing social distancing in India. So that is how we mean, let's say that it is considered. So which is not correct. It is considered, you have to find out not correct option. Basically, B is not correct option, and candidates were able to uh, attempt correctly this question correctly. Although some candidates certainly, let's say, understanding best, so since it differs, so they did not. Now let's take some mains oriented. Like say one major development has been related to lockdown. Is lockdown constitutional? Justify review. Now how you will answer this question? So it demands that you should have the knowledge of your polity, and it is the entire knowledge of your polity plus the current developments which you have to bring together, and then logic it, analyze it on the basis of your understanding that it can be proved that lockdown is constitutional. Now, you may have read any such article, you may not have read any such article. This is how. And when you have not read any such article, so it will be very difficult for you to prove it. Even if you can have very sharp knowledge about the emergency provisions of the Constitution, all provisions of the Constitution. But if you do not have understanding between the provisions of the Constitution and the lockdown related developments, you will not be able to prove. And that is how, let's say that even if you have knowledge, but a person is not able to write it. Similarly, there are some other questions like how far do you agree that government has effectively tackled this crisis? And then India needs a new law for effectively dealing against the health emergency like COVID. So this is also a question, and both question again depend on your understanding, how much knowledge, understanding you carry related to them. And that is how, let's say that UPSC is not a factual examination. UPSC does not ask question, be it prelims, mains, interview, based on facts or factual information only. Rather, it is a right blend of all the three categories of information, and with leaning towards views and perspective and understanding. And that is how we emphasize in our ED class about development of such understanding, so that you can face the most difficult part of this examination. Now, that why are current developments so important for the UPSC? If you are aware about the UPSC pattern, if you have read past year questions, certainly you'll be able to understand it. We don't need to tell, but I still will say you that although it is not data based on empirical analysis that 30 to 50, but just we have given a general data. It is on the basis of our understanding a general data. It can be some plus and minus, but 30 to 50% will find means almost 50% of this examination will have questions based on current developments. In fact, even conventional questions also you cannot answer. Let's say even if you are answering in history, in geography, in some conventional economy, even in ethics paper, essay paper, so when you answer, so there can be no any answer without referring to current developments. And a good quality of answer is considered one where you have good examples and references and illustrations. And that is how, let's say that they become very important. Let's see some questions. And if you go in a more structured way, so some questions are directly based on current development. Some questions will have a right blend of conventional and current development. Then men's cannot be, let's say, that considered. This is how I told all humanities optional subjects. Even let's say that whatever the optional you have, especially in humanities, so there you have a right blend of, let's say, question where you have relevance of current developments. And then essay, this is how we mean. Means you can say, or we can say that you cannot think of getting a good rank without having a good hold on current developments. And that is how, on the basis of this, all let's experience our understanding, we have our ED program, ED class, which now have been, which has been, let's say, redesigned and made more comprehensive. That ED class will consist of prelims, that current will give you daily current affairs, daily Hindu news analysis, and daily MCQs. At least three current prelim based MCQs would be given. And then mains, basically it is designed, since it is designed as mains oriented. Mains oriented means also interview oriented. Here we'll try to build perspective. And the further classification of ED can be found like this, that it is a class which used to be on every Sunday, when it used to be offline mode. And now also we have scheduled on Sunday in online mode. And on Sunday, this is how class is conducted, where we have detailed discussion of the topics, then thorough analysis. This is how we do, and then that helps you in building those knowledge and perspective. And since I have already explained all of them, so I will give here less emphasis on them. Then another important aspect of, let's say, that ED class is called questions. Every topic will have 2 to 3 questions, and especially mains oriented. And those questions we have named as questions to ponder. And those questions we try to answer in the class itself. We also ask from you when there was a offline mode, so we used to ask also from the students to answer, to get different perspective. And a topic discussion in the class also, let's say, make you or let's say help you answering those questions. So many a time it happens after the end of the discussion, you are able to answer yourself. Many a time, let's say, we ask the questions in advance before answering the question to check your level of understanding regarding the topic. And on the basis of those questions which we give on every Sunday in ED, we have a writing skill development practice every Thursday. It again used to be due to offline mode, but in online mode now, you know that okay, you can write anytime and a discussion can be held. So in this writing skill practice program, we give generally 4 questions on which you have to write your answer, and that will show that okay, how better you have understood what you have learned from the Sunday class or what you have learned from the ED class. And that is how it is a kind of reinforcement of your understanding, at the same time enhancing your skill for men's examination. Then we'll go to the sources for ED preparation, that how we prepare this ED class. And it is also important for you to know that ED class is not prepared only on the basis of newspaper. It is important to tell you so that you can also have confidence that whatever the materials, whatever the ED notes we are getting, So, or whatever the ED discussion is done, so it is on the basis of a very good research done by a team of experts in Lukman IAS, and it is prepared very diligently, and it goes through the multiple layers of editing, and then finally let's say that this ED topic is given. Yes, at times, due to time factor, certainly let's say that we give some AD without those multiple layers as well. But generally, we go through different layers of its preparedness analysis, and means preparation and analysis, and we do not follow only newspapers. Why? Yes, for a civil service aspirant, newspaper is adequate enough because he cannot have time and he cannot give time uh, to other sources. That is, he cannot give too much time to current developments. Rather, he will have to have a time management, and he should give 2 hours maximum. This is how I can say every day to current developments. Let's say that in newspaper. And if he becomes a bit experienced, so the 2 hours should be reduced to 1 hour. So for a candidate, it is not important to do lots of research and prepare topics because it will be very lengthy, time consuming, and it will not be manageable. Hence, any candidate will have to depend on some ready-made materials also to save time, and it is certainly not a smart or good let's say that choice or decision by any candidate to make notes, all notes, and therefore let's say to make our ED very comprehensive and very let's balanced, we try to take into consideration all those different sources. uh, it can be considered, let's say, research institutions, it can be international institutions, it can be other such institutions, which we try to take into consideration. It is simply because, let's say, a newspaper can have one perspective, another newspaper can have a second perspective. If you combine them, you can get a broad perspective. That's why we have to also consult many different sources to know the wider perspective on the matter. Like for instance, let's say that fiscal federalism. So nowadays there is a new, let's say, research institution, ORF Foundation, and ORF is doing lots of innovative research. It is highly updated, and it has released one research paper on fiscal federalism, which is very good source for you, and you cannot find in newspaper. Similarly, let's many other such institutions can also publish such sources. For instance, let's there is Live Law that also publishes some of the good articles, especially from a legal perspective. Then there can be also some government documents, other aspects. Another, let's say that we have Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Why we are referring these things? Simply to make you aware that for any such good understanding on any topic, newspaper will not be considered adequate enough. But not for you. It is for us, those who want to give you good resources and give you a balanced view. That's why you will have to have some dependency on some of the institutions. And this is how we can say that why we write go beyond newspapers. We can give many such examples, many men's questions, many prelims questions. So yes, certainly let's say Hindu is the main source, and we can relate many questions in prelims and mains to the Hindu newspaper. We can relate to Rajya Sabha channel, but it's not about that ki a topic was published in the Hindu newspaper. Therefore, a Hindu newspaper, if one reads, so it is adequate enough. It is adequate enough to get a topic from the Hindu. It is adequate enough to get a question from the Hindu. But can we say that ki the topic which was asked from the Hindu and the content given in that Hindu was adequate enough for your answer as well? So it can be, it cannot be, both. Or it may be, it may not be. This is how we can say. So it may be, it may not be. And at times it can be adequate, at times it may not be adequate, and that's why we try to go beyond newspaper. That does not mean that we are underestimating newspaper. No, newspaper, especially the Hindu, is relevant for you, and it has no any other substitute. This is what we say. But still, for a comprehensive view, we have to consult some other sources. For example, we have given some, let's take some examples. Like say that to answer the question whether lockdown is constitutional, if you have read live law website based article on that, so you can have a better legalistic understanding. And to answer that why government of India has invoked NDMA 2005, you have to read government documents. Without reading government documents, you cannot know legitimate aspect of information or right information. Plus, one newspaper will not make it clear. Reading one newspaper will not make it clear. You have to have a comparative view by reading multiple newspapers to know that why exactly government has invoked this law. Then let's take another question that we ask, and we ask a question related to lockdown. Basically, the question was related. The question was as follows: that which of the following statements can be considered as the most appropriate regarding efficient delivery of essential services during disaster time like the COVID-19? So, which of the following statement can be considered as most appropriate? Efficient delivery of essential service. Now, let's say that it is in a relatively homogeneous society, a centralized mechanism can be effective. In a relatively diverse and complex society, a more decentralized mechanism can be effective. A country which is authoritarian can tackle more effectively the COVID disaster than that of a democratic regime. It is neither nature of society nor the nature of regime. Rather, it is the resourcefulness of the state which determines effectiveness of tackling disaster. Now, it is a very, you can say, bit complex question also. It demands lots of understanding. You should have knowledge about society, you should have knowledge about state, you should have knowledge about authoritarian, democratic difference, centralized, decentralized difference. This is how we mean by understanding. Means in one question, you can see multitude of developments have been incorporated. So can you answer this question merely on the basis of your some information or merely on the basis of knowledge? It is very difficult. And you should know that this to prepare this question, so we consulted almost whatever the newspaper you have, all those 10, 15 newspapers, etc. Still, they were not able to give a good insight on this question. And then we found Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and it wrote an article on which state has been able to fight COVID challenges effectively. And it gave also three important conditions for tackling COVID challenges. It also gave comparative analysis of different regimes, authoritarian, democratic, European, non-European, Asian, ASEAN. So it gave also let's comparative analysis, and it gave three such factors called legitimacy of power, capability of the state, and participation of people. And it says that these three factors, if a state has these three factors, then it will be able to effectively tackle COVID challenges. And it gave some examples as well. That is how let's say that answering, although people answer the question, this question, but yes, people were also some people were also not able to answer it. Some went for first and second only. Some went for third one. Some went for fourth. You know the choice also, and that is how the difficulty posed by giving this question. And that is how we say that why newspapers many a time may not be able to give you a holistic view, a holistic perspective on different developments. Many a time newspapers also do not cover many such important developments. Even let me share one that Arogya Setu. We asked one question related to Arogya Setu. Simple question was that which of the following is not a feature of Arogya Setu? A newspaper will not write the features of the Arogya Setu as given by the government. Rather, it will try to write some of them, and that also in a very generic sense. But when UPSC will ask a question on Arogya Setu, and suppose it asks question related to its features, it will ask exactly on the basis of the government information, and that government information is with government on its website in the PDF format. And hence this is how we can say that ED class is not only about newspaper based analysis, it also looks into those aspects of development which we consider necessary for this examination. Now, let's come to this next stage of discussion, that how the ED class will be able to develop all the three types of knowledge. So, since already we have explained it that it's about following, let's a set of pattern regularly, a set of things regularly. Since ED class now will consist of daily Hindu analysis, daily current affairs, films, MCQs, then men's oriented class on Sunday, and then on Thursday, men's oriented practice. And if you follow this over a period of time, let's say for 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years, so you will be able to develop that needed perspective, which we have mentioned in the beginning. And this is how we can say it. Now let's go to the next level, that do you still need to read the Hindu newspaper and make notes? This is how an important question. It has also been raised by the students in past that if they are going through EDs, do they need to read the Hindu and do they need to make notes? So we'll say that in no any circumstances or in no any such situation, whatever the source you read, Hindu cannot be substituted, and you should not stop reading Hindu. The Hindu newspaper you must read on regular basis. Yes, what you can do is that you can give less time. Less time in the sense that you can read 1 hour. You can see only what are the developments. Some of the of your selected topics you can read on the basis of the daily Hindu newspaper analysis that you give. That can become basis to know what I should read today in the Hindu and what I should not read. since the Hindu news analysis is not only about what you should read, what you should not read, but also it gives in lucid format, in very, let's say, limited words, all those important information related to prelims and mains, including the questions, even the essay topics, and that is how, let's say, that you can benefit and you can strengthen your the Hindu newspaper daily reading. Now, as far as notes are concerned, some important things you can always note yourself. It can be important fact, important terms, important quotations. But if you are taking ED class, you are following ED notes. So you should make ED notes as basis for preparation of the notes. Since a topic has its development and it continues for some time, and therefore newspapers write the same topic again and again from different perspective. Therefore, you should not make notes on any topic unless you get the articles, you get information from different perspective. For instance, let's say that the COVID and globalization. So still articles are being written on that. WHO and COVID. Still articles are being written on that. So many articles have been written on that. So when you should prepare notes on that, or should we prepare notes on that? So what we do in our ED class is that we do not give a running topic in ED. Rather, generally we give a topic when we find that now the developments related to the topic has subsided. So development related to the topic has subsided, and therefore now we can give this topic. And therefore, ED topic is prepared with that, let's say, comprehensiveness, taking into consideration all those different dimensions, which, let's say, that a newspaper may have published 5 articles, and therefore those 5 articles are analyzed and an ED is prepared. Hence, ED itself is a good note for you. Still, you can make it very short. You can prepare notes on that ED note by writing only the important points, so that you can have means when you revise it, so it does not take much time. And that is how you should make notes on the basis of ED class, rather than that keep following daily Hindu and making notes. And this way it can save your time, and this way it can enhance your preparedness. At the same time, let's say that over a period of time, now the ED will give you, let's if you go for 1 year, so we'll have over 300 topics and over 500 questions related to mains, over 1000 questions related to prelims, which, let's say, if you practice, just imagine that in 1 year, if you have practice of these many number of questions, so how they will enhance your understanding. And by the end, let's say, this is how I will say that ED now consists of the three important aspects, the three important features, which now means recently we have added the last two features, daily the Hindu analysis and daily the current affairs, along with the ED class that we traditionally used to give. And we consider that these three things as a formidable combination if one follows regularly for at least, let's say that 1 year. So by the end of 1 year, you'll find that your own understanding regarding any such topic or any such development is much better than what you used to have in past. And your perspective, your way of thinking, how to balance any such view, how to bring different dimensions at the same time, remain compact, remain within the world and within the space provided by the UPSC. That is how we teach, and that is how we expect you to learn to perform better in this examination. And in this way, we will try to finish today about ED, that what exactly ED is all about, what exactly current affairs are, and what exactly you should approach in current affairs, and what exactly you should read in those current developments, and how you should enhance your understanding. We have also prepared a brief, let's say that, okay, brief note on a topic to give you that key how you should approach any such topic. Since today we are not teaching any topic, next time means from next time we will take topics one by one and discuss those topics. So today we decided to give you just a general understanding about ET class, current affairs, and how any topics should be approached. So let's take now that key, how we should approach a topic for this UPSC, for this IAS preparation. If you take COVID-19 crisis from the perspective of civil service examination, so before going to that, how you should know that it is a very big topic. Similarly, you should know that some topics are very big in their scope and dimension. Some topics are very small, and therefore the topics which are very big. So we say generally, the more you know, the less you know. So what you can know, what you should do is that you should try to know more and more. For instance, let's say that okay, topics related to judiciary, developments related to judiciary, we can find immense, and still you can find by the end of the day that okay, oh, some of the information you lack. Similarly related to ecology, environment, similarly related to government, similarly related to economic aspects, you will find that there are so many developments. And some developments are very big in their scope and dimension. And one is called the COVID-19. And let's see that how it is started and how it has resulted into such a vast field that in last 3 4 months it has changed the way you used to prepare current developments, especially the topics, the issues, the examples, the facts. You should know that before 4 months, so all those civil service aspirants, they may have prepared their optional GS paper, essay, and they may have prepared in advance their examples, their facts, and when they will write their answers. So, what examples they will write, what facts they will write, and you should know that this uh, COVID in last 4 months had changed all those preparedness, means all those efforts applied by the students, they will have to apply a fresh effort to prepare their examples, to prepare their notes, to restructure their views, their perspective on the same issue, because COVID has changed all those things. When it started, let's its origin, and so then it used to be Feb and March, and we still remember our last ED class and other such classes, and we found that okay, how we were laughing also, and we that time we taught one topic related to COVID, and we taught its basics. So once any such development happens, so it remains, its scope remains very limited, and therefore it is very easy to understand. And one should try to know, that is called origin, means we have to know the causes, how it emerged in China, and what exactly COVID is all about. Largely, it is related to its biological dimension. But you know that once it is started spreading, so it is started spreading, reaching to the other countries. So it becomes a pandemic. Once it becomes a pandemic, then the role of WHO comes, because it is the WHO which declares any epidemic as pandemic. And hence in your list of current development, WHO is also added. Means the old candidates may not have studied very properly about WHO, as a question was not expected, but once this pandemic has come, therefore the role of WHO has been very critically analyzed and many articles have been written. That is how, let's say, that the addition of developments. Then there are international dimensions. Already you know that how the uh, bilateral, multilateral relations, international developments, realignment of international developments and diplomatic relations are happening. There is a change in the geopolitical scenario, and there is a change in also globalization. We see one development can bring tremendous other developments, or it can bring tremendous changes in our society, and that is how, let's dimensions will we say. And then, let's say, once it becomes international dimension, then it comes to our national dimension. That is how it spreads to the other countries, and then other countries will start taking. And that is how the role of the government of India comes. If you take Feb, if you take even half of March, the role of government was hardly any was hardly under any such debate. But you know that once it started spreading and also increasing in our country, then government came into action. Once government came into action, you know that we have three-tier structure. Then you should know that there is a federal relation. Then you should know that the government has invoked various laws, especially the two laws that we have mentioned. Then union state relation comes into picture. Then government has taken many initiatives like Garib Kalyan Yojana. It has taken initiative like Atmanirbhar Bharat. It means, let's say, that you have to know many other set of developments, and again, let's say that those each and every development you have to know very thoroughly. That is how we mean by the multitude of developments, and then you have to know the current scenario. And then further we have tried to classify this into some other, let's say, that segments, that how COVID we can see from different perspective, so that you are able to widen the coverage of COVID and enhance your level of preparation. Like, let's say, biological aspect, largely biological aspect can be relevant for prelim examination. Some questions can be framed on that. Then social, economic, and political, which we can find more in case of main examination. Legal and constitutional in prelims and mains both. Then geographical, ecological both prelims and mains, and scientific and ecological. Again, let's say prelims and mains. Means, let's say that there can be different way to see the same COVID-19. We cannot see from one perspective. And once you see from all these different perspectives, we also say it as a wider perspective. And it is difficult to tell everything. Certainly, in the course of time, when we'll take ED class, which means when we'll conduct our ED class, so in the course of time, we will take all these important developments. Means by, let's say, 1 month, 2 months, we will be able to bring you all these developments already in some ED. Let's say the notes that we have given ED, especially ED 1, 2, 3, 4. So you may have got some topics related to COVID development, and you may have read also, but still, let's say, many other important aspects we have not covered. And in coming time, we will cover them and also have discussion on them with writing practices. So let's see some questions. Through questions, you can understand that how COVID can have different dimensions, which we have already asked in our mains test program. Like this, let's for paper one, so we can link some questions like this coronavirus. We have asked, we have asked one. biological perspective question for prelims oriented. You can see this question. And let's say these are, let's say, technicalities related to the COVID-19, and you should be very good at those technicalities. The first A, B, C, D are related with the biological aspect. The third is related to its international dimension once it becomes a pandemic. You should know that how any epidemic is named and which institution names it and on what basis it names it. And you should also know that any pandemic is not named on the basis of the place where the disease originates. It is kept neutral, and hence option D was not correct. So it is a question related to the biological dimension. Already many questions we have given in the ED that you have got, and you may be aware about the different questions. And let's see some mains oriented questions, especially for first paper one. That delineate, it is very simple question we have asked. Delineate the impact of social distancing and stay home on Indian society. Basically, you have to write. This is how you have to understand from a sociological perspective. When there is a social distancing and people are staying inside house, so what is the social impact? And one important aspect of social impact you can find is a negative development, that is called number of suicides increased. Although still we may not have empirical validity, but this is how we find in the newspaper reported. Then we have framed a question related to uh, society and poverty, because you know that when migrant laborers and their crisis and they return to their home place, so when they return to their home place, so somehow it has also been considered that they don't have any social safety net. And since they don't have any social safety nets, so ultimately they will have to go back to their hometowns, and there further due to lack of livelihood, their poverty level may increase. Then we have linked one to geographical factor about disease, and this is how there can be a question which we can relate. Now, to keep it limited today, we have not gone into further paper-wise and telling questions. Rather, we have tried to give you 5 questions relating to the next 3 papers, and that is how, let's say that you can have different developments, and every such question can be on the basis of a topic, or a topic can have multiple questions, like say Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. So how it is effective in ensuring social security? Again, let's say that you may know some of the components of the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, but you may not still be able to effectively argue that how it is effective. To effectively argue it, you must know social security system in the country and the problems of the social security, and how Garib Kalyan Yojana overcomes those problems. Then we can analyze the effectiveness. Then government has started Atmanirbhar Bharat, and it is going to be now again in news, debate, perhaps also a question. And there can be multiple questions. A question can be in paper second, a question can be in paper three, and any question, let's say that it can be linked to Atmanirbhar Bharat, it can be linked to manufacturing sector, it can be linked to planning, self-reliance, it can be linked to globalization. And here we have given a question related to globalization, like how it is antithetical to globalization, means how Atmanirbhar Bharat is anti to globalization. Do you think it is anti to globalization? Again, it depends on the understanding which we'll cover in coming time. Then we have framed a question related to Indian economy. Government has taken various measures to revive the Indian economy, especially the Indian economy when it started facing crisis due to COVID challenges. Already it was facing some of the economic challenges. So government has taken some initiatives. You have to analyze those initiatives and measures and give a view that how they are effectively going to address the problems. Then we have given a question related to WHO. As we expect a question on WHO, that how it has been able to effectively tackle the COVID challenges. Then you have to know about the basics of WHO. You have to know its functional aspect. You have to know its mandate. You have to know its power. You have to know its resources, the financial aspect. You have to know its quality of research. That does it do good research? So you have to know also its past performance, and then you will be able to express a view on WHO on this question. And similarly, we have framed a question related to ethics paper, that morality suffers when life and livelihood of people are threatened. This can be a general question which can be asked anytime, but we have tried to relate it with COVID crisis. So do you think that due to COVID crisis, as resource scarcity happen, as there is a threat to one's life and also livelihood, do you think that people become more selfish? Do you think that those all public servants, civil servants, doctors, etc., those who are serving, so their morality is also somehow so due to these COVID challenges, so their morality has become weak, or they have a strong moral basis, means they maintain their moral standard. So this you can know on the basis of many such developments related to hospital, related to civil servants, related to other public servants, staff, plus society, that how exactly society is behaving in COVID crisis. And that is how, let's say that this we can consider, means a topic can have different dimensions. This is how we want to give, and we can approach a topic from different perspective, and that is how we should try to know in current developments, and then we will be able to match the UPSC standards. So, after this discussion today, here we will finish, and hope that this will help you in understanding, especially two things, that what is our approach for ET class, and how you should approach current developments so that you match to the standards of US. Thank you, and hope that you are taking those precautions, and you are not unnecessarily worried about the future course of UPSC examination. Rather, you focus on your study, and if you focus on your study, that itself will give you, means that itself will draw your attention, and you will not be unnecessarily getting dragged by the day-to-day developments related to COVID, and get, let's say, tension, and get diverted. So preparation, UPSC preparation can itself become basis for diverting attention, and you can focus on your preparation. So hope that you will approach the current developments the way we have said it, and you can also adopt. It is not that you should follow only the approach we are telling. It is also not that we are telling the approach which is only best in the market. It's not like that. We told in the beginning that you have to follow any one source, any one institution, so that you can regularly, with consistency, follow that source. If you have been following any such set of sources, you think that they are good, you follow them. If you have decided to follow or institute resources, let's say that ED class, daily current affairs, daily Hindi news analysis, follow it. It is adequate enough, and do not follow any other such source, as you have to manage your time, and there should be division of time to other sections, other syllabus, and especially about conventional. We have given a 7 step model for how you should proceed in civil service preparation, and how much time you should give and when you should give for current developments. Therefore, you should have a very effective time management, that you are able to divide your time for conventional section, for optional, as well as current developments. And hence, these things will force you to have focus on limited sources, but good sources. So, hope you understand the relevance of what we are saying. And in the end, we'll say that follow this, and we will have our ED class from next Sunday, and perhaps we'll have a live class also with a digital board. Thank you.